Alrighty. Time to play another episode of One Last Night.
Wait a second.
What have we here? Ho ho ho. Psych! No, I'm kidding. Alright. Welcome back, Kenny and everybody. This is Lynn and Otter here to do another episode of One Last Night. And it looks like we also have a nice brand spanking new
Dual disc system. Trademark.
Update. Which is really cool. I believe on Twitter they said that there were like quality of life updates and I think some new art, which might explain why the last episode had some really cool art pieces, or maybe there's going to be more. I'm not entirely sure. And I'm not entirely sure I properly downloaded the right update. But either way, we will continue with the story after we've been introduced to Eli and Osiferous. Now, what is the next step that they should... What is the next step that they should take? Give me just a moment to set my timer. There was a silence as the boy pondered what the next step was. Should they go back and look for his parents, or was it better to wait here? They told him when he was younger that if he ever got lost, the best thing to do was stay put. But right now, he wanted to be somewhere that didn't smell this badly. Vociferous stepped in, seeing the boy's hesitation. I'll tell you what, kid. I'm getting a bit tired and could definitely use some good rest. How about I bring you back to my camp? We can stay there for the night, and you can have some time to sleep and think. How does that sound? Eli smiled softly and nodded, brushing the dirt off himself as he stood up and reached for Vociferous's hand to hold as they walked. Instead, the man hoisted the boy onto his back so he wouldn't have to walk. Resting there, the boy felt safer than he had in a while and began to drift off. Aww. Under the hood, the man smiled gently to himself. Sweet dreams, Eli. Well, that's just cute. With that, the two set off into the ruined city, accompanied only by the stars shining from the cloudless sky above. We're gonna perhaps be reunited with dear Marshall. Why does it still hurt, even after all this time? It's been over a year since I saw him last. I thought I would have been fine by now. He ruined so much for me, and I've worked so hard to heal those scars, to move on. Yet whenever I hear his name or think of his face, I'm filled with an unbridled anger. The way things left off between us was so unsatisfactory, so emotionally raw, that it still hurts to remember. He betrayed me without a second thought, like he never even frickin' cared about me. I wish he would have talked to me, given us a chance to talk things out. Instead, I was met with a wall. He seemed so uninterested, so emotionally dead. It was like he'd stopped caring about our relationship long ago. After that argument, I just packed my stuff and left without another word. Don't get me wrong. I'm more than happy that I found you. You have been nothing but a light in my life. There's nobody in this world I love more than you, Marshall. But a wound left untreated is bound to fester. You left me with so many regrets and doubts that I'm not sure I'll ever get answers to. I never want to see him again, and I want to sit down and talk things out at the same time. It's so confusing and clear all at once. It's frustrating that I can't just be happy with my present and my future. The past just knows how to dig its claws in and never let go. One day I hope I can sort things out with him. Just knowing the answer to these questions engraved in my brain should be enough to stave off the hurt. For now, I'll take it one day at a time. Recovery is a process, after all. At least I have your help to get it through. At least I have you to help me through it, my love. I know you'll always be there to support me. The first step I should take, though, is saying his name. I've avoided it this whole entry to try to keep some semblance of control over my emotions. It's baby steps, but anything is progress at this point. Better to confront my demons now rather than have them berate me later. I'll sign off now. I've got some stress baking to do. I think some croissants should do nicely. See you soon, my beloved. Love, Dorian. P.S. Dear Alistair, if you ever read this, jeez, go fornicate yourself. It's hard to keep a proper track of time when you can't see anything. Granted, what little light does shine through the fabric of the bag on my head helps, but it all seems to drag on forever. From the amount of times we've stopped to sleep, this is probably our third day of walking since the ambush, and it was getting dark already. After the bandits had downed us with chloroform, I'd woken up a few minutes later with something over my head and a massive headache. Part of me wishes the chloroform did work Part of me wishes the chloroform did work how it had in the movies. Then the jerks would have had to carry us out. Then the jerks would have had to carry us out of there for hours. Instead, our hands were tied behind our backs, our pockets searched, and we were forced to walk blindly. Said binding also served as a lead so we couldn't flee. They slept in shifts, making sure to watch us at all times. Any attempts I made to free myself, or for either Xavier or I to talk to each other, were met with swift physical punishment. Our captors could only do so much considering we still had to be able to walk, but they made what little they could do count. For now, it was easier to eavesdrop and glean what info I could before we reached our destination. What I had learned so far was that we were en route to their home base somewhere farther into the city and close to the lake. The route we were taking was the safest one, but not the fastest. They didn't want to risk encountering any fated or potential wannabe heroes. I wasn't sure for how long, but it was clear that they'd been stalking the outside of Haven, waiting to capture more prisoners like us. The new info only brought more questions to mind. Why did they want prisoners anyway? Wasn't it enough to steal from people? All of this was, of course, for their boss, whom they frustratingly hadn't said the name of. Maybe they had some kind of taboo over saying it? I had heard of stranger things in these post-apocalyptic groups. I stumbled suddenly, startling myself out of my thoughts as I barely caught my balance. I had barely anything to go off of right now, but that would have to be enough. I needed to keep myself focused. It didn't help that each minute that passed steadily built up the anxiety in my chest. Wherever we were headed, it wasn't good. I listened intently for the next few minutes, trying to hear anything of interest being discussed. Unfortunately, the set topic was about gambling. Poker certainly wasn't going to set me free. The conversation was growing intense, the group seemingly focused on winning the argument. Maybe this was my chance to speak to Xavier. We had to get out of this. I drifted closer to the sound of the footsteps walking next to me. I spoke towards him in a hushed tone, my voice rafty after not having used it for a while and with barely any water given to me. Hey, Xavier. You all right? I heard a small inhale next to me before the familiar voice whispered back. I don't really know. I'm scared and trying to process it all. You? Trying to be. Don't fret though, kid. We'll be all right. Listen for my signal. How will I know what's... His words were cut off by an impact, followed by a sudden wheeze. Haven't you two learned your lesson about shutting the heck up? I felt a surge of anger rush through me at the sound. Hey! I was the one who started the conversation, not him. Oh, look at you, taking all the blame. What a hero you are. Jeez. My words were cut off as I felt the air leave my body, the impact of a fist forcing it out violently, leaving me doubled over in pain. Stars danced in my hood as I struggled to recover from the blow. I wasn't given the comfort of catching my breath as a hard boot to my back sent me toppling forward to the ground. I curled myself into a ball, making myself smaller on instinct in an attempt to fill my lungs with oxygen again. My chest burned from the strikes. Better to focus on me than Xavier, though. I could hear our captors laughing at me, delighting in my suffering. The media was right. The apocalypse does bring out the worst in some people. My arms were jerked upwards as my head was tugged. Get up already. We're already here. We're finally here. I used what little movement capabilities I had to push myself into a sitting position, just barely getting my legs under my feet to stand. We walked forward a short distance before we stopped, the female bandit's voice raised to speak to the others. Wait here a minute. I don't know how to do these girl voices, man. Wait here a minute. I'll let them know we're here so the boss can come and see our haul. Her footsteps moved away from us, leaving Xavier and I with the remaining 2 bandits. This was our last chance to try something. The anxiety reached its peak, stress spreading throughout my body as I let my fight or flight instincts take over. I had to act now. Grabbing the rope behind me, I tugged it forward suddenly and felt it slack as the bandit was brought closer to me, toward me. I took a big step and flung my head backwards, hoping for the best. Oh, gosh. I felt the crunch of his nose as it impacted against my skull. Ah! The rope dropped as he let go from the shock, an opportunity I used to kick backwards and send him onto his send him onto his back or on his butt. I could do this. I could get us free. There were sounds of a scuffle next to me. Xavier had realized that was the signal. As fast as I could manage, I grabbed the rope and... my movements were halted entirely as a loud and sudden cry of pain resounded from the direction of the other bandit. Well, I'd never heard him yell like that before. It was unmistakably Xavier. Oh, no. Oh, jeez. Take another freaking step and another of your boyfriend's fingers gets broken. Understand? I stood frozen from the shock of it all, the adrenaline leaving my body as reality set in. Of course they'd use him against me. What other tactic did this scum have? Dang it. I stood still as the remaining fight left my body, replaced with guilt as Xavier softly whimpered over his broken finger. Ah, shoot. As much as I wanted to reason with myself that it was a worthwhile attempt, it had gotten us nowhere. We were still captured by a group of bandits, and now Xavier was injured for whatever was to come. Shoot. I heard the grunts of my captor standing up behind me as I readied myself for whatever harm was to come. Oh, you're gonna pay for that, Hi! For once, I was thankful for her return. She seemed to be more reasonable than the other 2, but her punches always hit the hardest. Oh, don't damage the goods any further. They're the last two we need. Uh-oh. A frustrated sigh came from the second bandit, and I could feel his eyes boring a hole through the bag. Oh, don't try anything. That applies to all of you. Now let's go. We don't want to keep the boss waiting. I'm telling you, my girl voices always lean towards like some kind of English accent. The rope binding my hands was raised as we started moving forward, an annoyed grumbling in the air mixing with the sound of our footsteps. The ground beneath our feet changed to something harder as the resonance shifted. We were led into a building as echoes of conversation grew louder the deeper we went. The only way out of this was through. Whatever came next, we'd have to face it head on, one way or another. A door scraped against the floor in front of us as we were met with the sounds of whoops and cheering. I heard slivers of comments from the people around us. A bright orange light shone through the bag from a distance, growing brighter with each step and adding the crackling of fire to the mix. What the heck? They were all excited for our arrival, looking forward to whatever they planned to do with us. Some even muttered about taking bets. I hated being the center of attention like this. Whenever a speech had to be delivered at Haven, another member of the council would always have to handle it. Something about having to stand up in front of a group of people and speak robbed my mind of anything I had planned to say, even if it was written down for me. Social anxiety is a female dog. The crowd began to quiet as a set of heavy footsteps entered the room. The sound echoed purpose and pride, the person they belonged to knowing they dominated the space. Next to them was a softer pair, clearly meant to be less noticeable to the first. An advisor? A second in command? The room came to a hush as who I presumed was the leader stopped in front of Xavier and I. We were pushed roughly to our knees before them, meant to kneel before the person who would decide our fate. My. It seems we have some valuable new merchandise on our hands. The voice seemed to fill the room, loud and coarse with slight twinges of a foreign accent. Hey! Maybe the English accent won't be so bad. The depth of it only helped command my attention, a natural-born leader. Except I was more focused on my blood beginning to run cold, my body going still. I was all too familiar with this voice. The footsteps moved around us as he it's a key. The footsteps moved around us as he inspected our bodies. They're in good condition too. I'm sure they'll put on quite an entertaining show. He stopped behind us. Though the injured finger on this one might prove troublesome. Cal, make a note to have him treated before tomorrow. Yes, sir. The scratching of a pen from where the softer steps had paused indicated Cal was the person accompanying him. As he made his way back before us, I could hear the grin on his voice as he spoke. As you all may already know, with the addition of these two wonderful specimens, we finally have enough recruits for the next round of Wonderland. Uh-oh. Cheers erupted from around the room, the bandits celebrating before being quieted once more. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there, and thank you for the three who brought them here. Excellent work. As he started clapping, the other joined in on a round of applause. The others? He was treating this entire thing as though it were a performance, as if this was a circus where he was the ringleader and we were the freaks on display for the adoring crowd. I always knew he liked being the center of attention, but hearing him like this was sickening. Now, without further ado, what say we all greet our guests properly? With the confirmation from the crowd, he took a step to my right where Xavier stood, and there was a brief rustle of fabric. Such a handsome face to be greeted with. I was right in believing he'd be a star, folks. Tell me, young one, how shall your fans be addressing you tomorrow? Everything was silent as they anticipated Xavier's response, but none came. Good kid. Don't give them anything to work with. Oh, would you look at that? You've got a shy boy with us. Maybe he'd be more willing to talk with some motivation. He circled around once more, and Xavier let out a cry of pain again. Oh, no. So he does speak. I'll ask you again, dear friend, so this finger of yours isn't marred any further. What is your name? There was another silence before the bat yelled out his response. Xavier! My name is Xavier. Give it up for Xavier the Bat, everyone! The applause sounded once more as I readied myself for what I knew was next. Dear Xavier isn't our only guest here, however. How about we see what's behind bag number 2? The air was heavy with anticipation as the attention was drawn solely to me. I had dreaded this moment for years, mentally preparing for the day it would have inevitably come. I practiced what to say, what to do, how to react, everything I could think of for when we finally met again. Then there was an apocalypse, and I'd had more important priorities than settling things with him. Is this the guy from the beginning monologue? I wasn't even sure I'd ever see him again, though a part of me was hoping for it. Yet here we were, in a situation I couldn't have ever predicted. As the bag slid off my head and my eyes adjusted to the light, I brought my gaze up to look into the eyes that had haunted my memories for years, and spoke. Whoa. Hello, Alistair. Ooh, everything remained silent as I waited for a response, punctuated by the shock on Alistair's face as he stared at me. It's been, a little over 3 years since we last spoke? I knew I should be taking stock of my surroundings, trying to learn everything I could about where I was and what was happening. Instead, all my brain could focus on was the anger starting to burn in my chest at seeing him again. Ooh. The rage that had spent so many years simmering just beneath the surface started to boil over. Oh no! My eyes not wanting to leave his face, I watched as the shock was replaced with a smug laugh as he pieced together his composure. Oh shoot. Oh shoot, so we know him. Holy crap! Dorian! Is that really you? I couldn't help but sigh, his face transforming into the smirk I'd grown to hate. Fortunately for the both of us, it is. Alright, and we're gonna have to leave it there, folks. We've been reunited with Dorian, an old flame. Seemingly. Maybe a cheating flame? Oh boy. So the plot then thickens. I hope you guys enjoyed this next episode. We're going to have to continue this hopefully sometime. I think I was told that One Last Night's actually getting close to ending. Or at least, I'm getting close to being caught up. So, same thing with Socially Awkward. So chances are, I am in the market for a new visual novel to start playing. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. I might do a poll or something, maybe on Twitter, maybe here on YouTube. But I've got a couple ideas. I'm thinking something called Fatal Force, or what was it called? The King's Guard. And there's a couple other visual novels that I've been curious about. Maybe Adastra. But again, any suggestions totally open to. Because I'm about to run out of a couple. These two stories are about to be on hold for a bit. But in the meantime, feel free to subscribe if you like the videos. Check out any other playthroughs on my channel of other stories, of other visual novels. And yeah, hope you guys have a good day, good evening, whatever it is for you. And take care until next time. Bye.